Good evening, everyone. My name is Bailing, and I am the event lead from Little Masters Club's College2Career team for this event. Tonight, we're honored to invite Zizhen Cheng, a CS major rising senior at UC Berkeley, to speak with us is his experience in both high school and university. Zizhen graduated from Bellevue High in 2019, and he served 3 years in Bellevue High's class council and 1 year in the ASB. He was also the debate co-lead on his school's speech and debate team. In the summer of 2020 and 2021, Zizhen interned at Amazon in Alexa's speech team, and he is currently interning at Roblox's content platform team. All are software engineering focused. Without further ado, let's please welcome Zizhen.
Hi, thank you, Bailing, for the invitation. Yeah, I go to school at UC Berkeley, like you said. I'm here to answer some questions about the application process, UC Berkeley specifically, and just like college in general. So yeah, thank you guys all for coming, and big shout out to Little Masters Club for having me out.
Okay, and now we'll begin with Zizhen's presentation. Okay, so for today, Zizhen will be covering 4 main categories: the UC application system, academics and majors at UC Berkeley, life on campus, and some internship opportunities in college. So first, beginning with the UC application system, we have our first question for Zizhen here.
Oh, okay. So it's heard that. Are you going to read the question, or do I just?
Yeah, sure. I can read the question out loud. So, the first question. Oh, by the way, most of these questions are gathered from the registration form we sent to people. So, if any of the participants here still have any question that is not answered during Zizhen's presentation, we also have the open Q&A section for you to ask your question. So, beginning with the first question, it says, it is heard that the UC schools have their own application portal. How is the UC application system different from that of the other colleges?
Okay, well, for Berkeley specifically, right? It is an UC school, and other schools, like a lot of schools, will go through like the Common App, Coalition App. They're like these platforms that exist. That way, you only have to fill out one application, and then you can apply to a bunch of schools. UC, I do not think, well, at least when I applied, I think it's still not. They don't like use those platforms, so they have their own application system. You need to, instead of signing up for just like a Common App account, you need to go to the UC page and then like sign up for one of their accounts. And other than that, I don't think the application system is very different. It's still essays, transcripts, and like extracurricular activities. Like all the content is the same. It's just mechanically, it's a different website that you're going to. Yeah, other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Okay. The next question says, if you apply for one UC school on the UC application portal, do you automatically apply for all the UC schools at the same time?
I don't think so, because yeah. So when you apply to UC schools, right, you fill out the UC application, and then at the end of the UC application, they'll give you a list, and then you can check mark every single one that you want to apply to, because every single UC runs their own admissions office. They have their own admissions process. They have different standards as well, right? Like UC Santa Barbara and UC Irvine and UCLA are not going to have the same like standards for kids. Each school also has their own like colleges, their major programs. So depending on like what program you apply to, you have to individually pay the application fee for every UC school. So if you file one UC application, I guess it makes sense if you want to like check all the check boxes to apply to every single one. It will just be a little expensive for application fee. It should be like $70 per check mark, basically. But their only similarity is I think it's like the same application. So you fill one out, and then you can choose which one you apply to, but it doesn't automatically do all.
Okay. The next one says, besides academics, what qualifications do you think are key to get selected to UC Berkeley?
Yeah. Okay. Let me think. I don't think UC Berkeley is like very different from the other colleges and like the stuff they look for. GPA higher, the better. I don't think UC Berkeley looks at like test scores, along with like a lot of other colleges now. And I'd say Berkeley specifically, like there's probably mm, I, there's probably like a bigger emphasis, right, on like how scrappy you are, as in like in high school, how much you went out and like accomplished something on your own versus just mm, like not really doing other activities. The thing with that is like I think all colleges look for that now. So I'm not an admissions officer, right? So I wouldn't know specifically like what makes Berkeley what like uniquely Berkeley looks at that other schools don't. But in general, I feel like it's the same stuff that like someone should pay attention to in high school, right? You want to be able to make an impact through extracurricular activities. You want to do good in school, and you want to just like experience things, you know, see the world, have a story to tell with your essays. And I feel like those are some of the big ones. And yeah, like it's not really qualifications, more just like things to have on your application.
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
And
so it's general, like regular things.
Got it. And then the next question asks, were there any extracurriculars that assisted you in getting into UC Berkeley and its CS major?
So so to start off, the Berkeley CS major, the CS major I'm in, the letters in the School of Letters and Sciences, you don't get into that major when you apply. You get into the Berkeley School of Letters and Sciences, and then you take some like introductory courses. You do good in those courses, and then you can declare the major. So I went into Berkeley not a CS major, and then by the end of my freshman year, I was able to declare the CS major. Extracurriculars, well, you already gave the introduction. I did 3 years of class office in high school, and then 1 year of ASB. I also did like debate lead. I had some summer camp, some summer program that I went to where I like built projects. Like I don't know if you guys heard of like MIT Launch X. It's like a startup camp. I went there and I made a product. That was like a big extracurricular of mine. I also did like robotics, although I didn't do leadership. So I feel like I did some pretty like typical extracurricular activities. And yeah, in general, to apply to get into EECS has, I would say, probably higher standards. EECS is Berkeley's like EECS dual degree program. That one is direct admit, so you need to apply to that. They will admit you in. You don't need to declare. To get into that one, you probably need like more qualifications. When I was applying to schools, like Berkeley wasn't like oh I'm, like this is my dream school. You know, I just applied. I didn't even do that much research, and then when I got in, it was just like a very good school, right? So I went. So yeah, it's I don't know which one specifically helped me get into Berkeley the most, but I just say like in general, like taking leadership, making an impact in high school probably helped out.
Yes, definitely. Okay, the next question says, juniors and seniors in high school can be super busy. Do you have any advice on time management?
Oh, this is a good question. This one's way more practical. So time management is something that I help a lot of kids with. Like I get asked this question a lot. I'm a junior in high school. I'm a senior. I feel like I'm doing 6 hours of work outside of school every day. How do I manage my time better? My usual response to that is whatever you are doing, right? It could be work, it could be extracurricular, it could be on your phone, it could be playing video games. Whatever you're doing, focus on that one thing. What a lot of kids in junior and senior year of their high school, what they tend to do is they will work, but not concentratedly. So I don't know if there are like students in the audience that have the similar feeling, right? What will happen a lot of times, you'll sit at your desk, and you're like doing work kind of, but then every like 5 minutes, you check your phone or you get up, you like do something else, you wander, or sometimes you just like sit there and wait. And in the end, say like you have a really big project due. You might spend like 20 hours kind of working on the project, but out of those 20 hours, only like 1 or 2 of the hours is like you very focused and working on the thing. This is because there's a lot of distractions around us, right? There's all kinds of information, there's notifications popping up, and there's just a plethora of information that you have access to. So my advice on like time management specifically is if you want to check your phone, that's fine. I'm not saying like throw your phone out, you know, but check your phone and then put your phone down and then go back to like doing focused work. If you want to play video games, that's cool too. You know, play a round of video games, play 2 rounds of video games, but then come back and like focus on your work. Because the thing that kills time the most is when you sit there, you think you're doing work, but you're not actually getting that much work done. You can do that for like 4 or 5 hours straight. And then by the end of 4 or 5 hours, you'll be like, wow, I did 4 or 5 hours of work, but I got no work done. You see what I'm saying? Like, rather than that, you might as well spend 2 hours playing video games, 2 hours like going outside, being on your phone, watching TV, doing something, and then another 2 hours like concentrated working, and you'll make way more progress. So don't mix things together. Just like focus on one thing at a time.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
key to
that's
time.
definitely that's definitely a great piece of advice. And Zizheng, he is also like one of the organizer of a tutoring and counseling program, and he'll be introducing that later in this presentation. So for now, the next question asks, are there any specific requirements on high school course selections to get into the UC schools?
I don't know about UC schools in general. There's a big spectrum of UC schools. I'm not saying any UC school is bad, but like there are some UC schools that are easier to get into than others. To get into, say, like UCLA or UC Berkeley, probably the same thing as like a bunch of other top 20, top 30 US schools. Take 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 4 years of social studies, 4 years of like a second language. You don't like, there's no requirement like you have to take AP Calc, but having taken AP Calc probably helps because it's like an advanced math class, right? I don't think there are any hard requirements. It's just course rigor and GPA, like those two things combined will show you like how academically successful you are. So yeah, just take AP classes, don't overburden yourself. Same advice to not just for UC Berkeley, for all college. In high school, you want to take as hard classes as you possibly can while you can do very good in all of them. So the baseline is that you're doing very good in all of your classes. If you're already doing very good in all of your classes, you can take a little bit harder classes. You should never take a bunch of super hard classes and then not do good in it. That's worse than if you take easy classes but do good. So yeah, course rigor and GPA. No specific requirements.
All right, got it. Okay, the next one asks, what kind of essay do you think are the most attractive during application? And what are some key points in writing good essays?
So, also very similar, like I get asked this question a lot in college consulting. This is like one of the most frequently asked questions because it's the most confusing one. Essays determine a huge portion of your application weight because you spend 4 years going to school every day, going to class every day, doing homework, taking tests, taking quizzes, doing projects. You spend 4 entire years of your life for that transcript. And arguably the transcript probably matters a little bit more, but like within the same tier as like how much the essays matter. And you only spend maybe like a month or so working on the essays. And per essay, you're spending maybe like 4 or 5 hours versus the transcript took you 4 years. The key to like an essay, right, is don't be worried about like, don't be scared by its weight. Don't be like, oh, this is so important. Like I need to like make this perfect. Perfect is usually like too clean. It's too like artificial, and it's not your real voice. A good essay should be written like by you. It's how you answer the question. When you see an essay prompt, just answer it. You know, they want to know what you think. They don't. There usually is no right answer to an essay prompt. They don't want to know what like the optimal, like best possible answer is for this essay. That's not what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is just be yourself and yeah, answer the question. College consultants like me, we can help a student edit their essays. We can help them revise their essays, right? So there's 2 things that like we can help you do. We can help you ideate, which is like when you're coming up with ideas, we say, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a bad idea. That's a good idea. That's a bad idea, right? We can tell you what kind of topic sounds like it would become a good college essay, but we can't help you write that because that's not your voice anymore. We come up with an idea with you, you write the essay, and then we can help you clean it up a little bit. Cleaning up usually is like the essay is 600 words, like it's 600 words max, but you wrote 1,500 words. Okay, we need to help you cut down. It's stuff like that. So yeah, there's no recipe to like manufacture a very perfect essay because that like there's no such thing, right? If you build a package, your application package is very like say it's biology focused. You want to become a doctor, you want to go into pre-med, and you have done a lot of like either like environmental or like research kind of extracurriculars in your high school. You writing a beautiful like CS essay isn't even going to help. It's case by case, it's student by student. Your essay needs to match your package, it needs to match you, and the only way to do that is make it like authentic and organic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these were some really great points you brought up. And continuing on, the next question asks, did you have an interview when you applied to UC Berkeley, and what do you usually need to prepare for the interview?
I didn't have an interview for UC Berkeley. I don't think UC Berkeley is interviewing still today. I did do a lot of interviews for other like schools I applied to. What you need to prepare for an interview is like the same thing you would need to prepare for an application. You need to understand the school that you're going to, right? So two of the most frequently asked questions. The first one, say you apply to Stanford. Stanford will do an interview with you. And one of the questions they will ask is like, hey, why do you want to come to Stanford? If your answer to that question is because it's ranked like very highly on US News rankings, like that's bad. Understand the school, right? Like know why you're going. A school being highly ranked like is definitely a reason you want to go, but that shouldn't be the whole reason. That just means you're like a rank chaser, right? You need to understand like what kind of program that you want to go into, why that school will help you with the program. What Stanford probably doesn't want is a kid who shows up and has no idea like anything about Stanford. He's like, well, I made it. Like now, like my goal has been accomplished. I am done. But it's like, well, you're 18, right? Like you're still so young. You have like years of life ahead of you that Stanford wants to know what you're going to do with it. So it's good to know why you want to go to a school. The second thing that you should probably prepare is to like tell me about yourself. That's not a college interview specific advice. That's just all interview advice. Whenever you go to any interview, 50% of the time, or like a very big percentage of the time, they're going to ask you something along the lines of, so tell me about yourself. If you're telling me about yourself is, yeah, I go to high school in Washington and I'm going to go to college. That's like, there's way more about you than that, right? Every single one of you, like in the audience, there's something like special about you, something unique about you, and there should be a way for you to tell that. Not artificially. I probably don't recommend scripting an answer. You probably shouldn't ever script any answer, but have a general understanding so that when you get asked questions, you can organically answer. And that's it. If you're scripting, they can usually tell. Like if you pre-write or you prepare like and you memorize something, it will sound very like robot, and that's usually not a good thing. So,
all right, got it. All right, that's great. And so now we'll be moving on to the next section, which is more specific about the academics and majors at UC Berkeley. Mm-hmm. So, all right, the first question asks, how do you compare UW CS to UC Berkeley CS? Because we know a lot of people, because in this greater Seattle area, they know that UW CS is a very big thing. So they want to know, like, how would you compare UW CS to UC Berkeley CS? And do you have any suggestions for applicants from the greater Seattle area if one happens to get both offers?
This is a very good question. So because I went to Bellevue High School, I have a lot of my friends from high school that go to UW CS. And personally, I only got into UW engineering. I didn't get into UW CS. So I never had to make this decision. If I were to make this decision, there are like a few factors, right? So Berkeley's location is good, but I wouldn't say Berkeley's location is like something that you go to the school for. Berkeley's close to San Francisco. It's close to Mountain View, Menlo Park, which is like the greater portion of Silicon Valley. For computer science specifically, that's a very good location. But the thing is, like UW also has like, there's Amazon, there's Microsoft, there's like a lot of tech offices in Seattle. Seattle is like a growing city. Location-wise, I'd say the two are about the same. UC Berkeley might be a little bit better. UC Berkeley also isn't like smack in the middle of Silicon Valley. It's just close. So if you're at UW and you apply for like, say a Google job, you probably, and you're doing like an on-site interview, you probably have to like get them to fly you down to Mountain View to do an interview. Versus if you're in Berkeley, you can just drive. That's not something that's like very important in my opinion, because when you're at that point of your application and like your job hunt process, usually a plane ticket is like a trivial. It's that's not something you should go to pick a college for. The more important thing is probably like the programs themselves. Berkeley's CS program is very competitive, as in even after you get into Berkeley and even after you get into the CS program, it's like a struggle and like it's like a fight to like make it through, to really like learn the content and to graduate. Berkeley's grading system is also very harsh. Like if you have a 3.6, 3.7 at Berkeley, you're considered very, very, very smart, because most classes are like B plus or B flat average. So most classes will be like 3.1, 3.2 average. So being 3.1 or 3.2 at Berkeley, like your average versus at UW, they'll inflate a little bit more. That matters because like it depends on what you want to do further down in your CS career, right? If you want to just like go to undergrad, get out, and then go to work, something like Berkeley could work. If you want to go into research, maybe something like UW could be better because it more prepares you for like the academic side. It's hard for me to give you a suggestion. This is also very like family by family. UW CS is cheaper. Like it's a lot cheaper than Berkeley. It's also closer to home, right? There's like family reasons. I personally think if I had UW CS and Berkeley back in high school, I still would have chosen Berkeley. And yeah, like now I personally would still make the same decision. But that's not me saying Berkeley CS is better than UW CS. It's ranked a little bit higher maybe, but that doesn't really affect undergrad. The two are very close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for excuse me, the great points you brought up. And yeah, in the end, this is still like a choice that's different from individual to individual.
Yeah.
So, okay, should we move on?
Yeah. Is there a next one?
Yeah. So the next question asks, what does a general school day routine look like for you at UC Berkeley?
I'd say at UC Berkeley, so UC Berkeley's culture is like very grindy. It's very like everyone's like doing a lot of work at all times. People usually don't even work at home because working at home is like you don't get as much done as if you're like at a library. Usually every day I'll wake up I wake up pretty late, like between 9 to 10, because Berkeley classes will all start like very late in the day. If I have an 11 a.m. class, that's like a very early class. Most of my class will start like in the afternoon, like 1 to 2 p.m. I'll wake up, eat some food, go to class for maybe like 1 or 2 hours. At Berkeley, every semester I take anywhere from like 3 to 5 classes, and every class will probably meet 2 or 3 times a week. So every day I'm expected to have to go to about 2 classes, plus maybe like a discussion section or like some kind of like lab section. I'll be in class or in lab or in discussion for probably like 3 to 4 hours, and then I'll spend another 2 to 3 hours at a library or at like on the glade, somewhere where I can like do my own work. And then at nighttime, like I'll either keep doing work if I'm busy, I'll work on like my own projects or like do things on the side, like recruiting for work, building my resume, or I'll just hang out with my friends. It's not a very intensive day. And then usually I'll be in bed by like 1 or 2 a.m. And that's like, I'd say the schedule that most Berkeley students share.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next question asks, after 3 years at UC Berkeley, how do you like the school? And also more specifically, your CS major. And do you think any of its strengths or uniqueness make it different from other CS schools?
So the UC Berkeley CS program is like one of the strongest CS programs in the nation. We have a lot of professors that they wrote the textbook. So like we're learning from like, say like in Prob 140, or I think don't quote me on this, but I think like there's like quite a few like upper div stuff like 170 or like 188. There would be textbooks where the professor would just come and be like, okay, so we're going to learn from this textbook, and I wrote this textbook, and then like we can learn directly from the source. The core staff are also very friendly. Berkeley's CS major, strength would be like the content is very clean. it's very like solid content that is definitely like the most cutting edge and up to date, because other schools will propagate and like be behind Berkeley's CS program. Like we know a lot of schools will just take Berkeley's homework. So if you, all Berkeley's classes are public. Let me find like an example really quick. So one of the intro classes at Berkeley is CS61A. Everyone can just log onto the CS61A website. This is like a known fact. So I'll drop it in the chat right now. Like everyone can just go to this site. This is the website that like the core staff teaches on, and other schools will just take the PDF, like the homework PDFs, the project PDFs, whatever, from Berkeley. So if you go to like another CS school, you might be learning Berkeley's content 1 or 2 years later. That's like a strength. Its content is very up there. Professors are also like industry leaders. We have a parking lot next to the big clock tower, and the only way you're allowed to park in the parking lot is if you have a Nobel Prize. That's like our Nobel laureates parking lot, and the parking lot is full. I think there's like right, and yeah, it's just like core staff professors, very smart, very established. Weaknesses would be like, because it's so strong, there's too many people in all the classes. The regular like Berkeley class for CS upper division is like 1 professor, 200 students, versus if you go to like UW CS, a lot of the upper div classes like 1 professor, 15 students. 1 professor, 15 students means the professor will know every student's name. If you have a question, raise your hand, you ask the professor. At Berkeley, that doesn't happen. If you have a question, you have to ask a TA or you write an email. So that would be like, I'd say it's weakness. Is that fair? Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Moving on. The next one asks, can your AP scores in high school be transferred into credits at UC Berkeley specifically?
Yes. Yes, 100%. Berkeley is, out of I think all universities in the US, one of the most lenient with this. A lot of other schools are like, oh, we don't take physics, or like, oh, we don't take like AP World History. We don't take. Berkeley takes virtually like every single AP class. I took 19 APs when I was in high school, and then when I went to Berkeley, 16 of them they accepted. That's very rare. I have friends that took also like 16, 17 AP courses, and when they went to college, their college maybe took 3 or 4. Berkeley took like basically all of mine, and that's what also allowed me to like really pick what classes I want to take, because you need 120 units to graduate from Berkeley. My APs accounted for 67 when I entered. So when I entered Berkeley, I already had more than half the units I needed. Now, those are fluff units. They're like humanities units. I still needed to take all the CS units because like AP CS does not help you towards the major. AP CS is like an appetizer. It doesn't help you out with your major, but it helps you knock out all of the side classes. No matter what major you're doing, say like at Berkeley, you need to take English, you need to take history, you need to take social science, you need to take biology science, you need to take like psychology, a bunch of these like random classes. If you took APs, you could just waive this, and then you don't have to do any of the not so interesting courses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think that was pretty clear to the audience. And the next question asks, are the high school advanced level / AP courses related or helpful to your college courses?
I would say so. They're definitely not as advanced. Berkeley's computer science program starts from 0. So Berkeley's computer science program assumes that you don't know anything. And from that assumption, I'd say, so the link I sent in the chat, this is Berkeley's like intro. This is like the first CS class you take. Every year, 2,000 students take this class, like 2,000. And this is like, they start from scratch. And if you look at the content, I say within the first like less than a month, within the first 3 weeks, this class covers all of APCS. It's definitely helpful to know APCS, right? It's like having learned APCS, this class was easier for me because the first 3 weeks I was like, I already know this. But after the first 3 weeks, you're learning new content. That's APCS specifically. Other helpful AP classes would be like AP Physics, AP Calc, just general like STEM thinking. For those classes helped me with my like university major. people going to MCB or like people going to pre-med, if you have AP Chem knowledge, AP Biology knowledge, it will definitely help you towards your major too. But probably also similar to CS, like you're not going to learn a lot in high school. The biggest goal that you're doing in high school is you're learning how to learn. You're learning things like time management. You're learning how to keep up to date and how to like structure your day, structure your time so that you can absorb information. The information in high school is like rather small. You can take like AP Chem and AP Bio, and then as soon as you go to college, you can take one like biochem class, and probably within the first 2 or 3 weeks, all of AP Chem and Bio is covered. So yeah, like they're definitely relevant, like they're related, but I wouldn't say they're like super helpful beyond just like the very, very introduction parts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is kind of a long question, but as an incoming EECS freshman, how much is the workload at UC Berkeley? And is taking 3 technicals in freshman year doable while still having time to socialize? As well as what are some courses you recommend for freshman year?
This is a very specific question. This might be like an actual EECS freshman who asked this question. So to answer this question, you could take 3 techs your first semester. It depends on how competent you are and like how fast you want to do this. If you're trying to speed run like and be done with it as fast as possible, yeah, like you're gonna have to do stuff like this. But I'd personally recommend, because it's your first semester in college, beyond just adapting to the course load, you're also adapting to life. Adapting to life takes a lot of time. Like you're living by yourself, right? Beyond just taking classes, you need to like do your own laundry. You need to cook your own food. You need to like, I don't know, like go grocery shopping on your own. There's a whole variety of other time commitments that you don't expect yet. So if you take 3 technicals right off the bat and you pull it off, it's doable. I'm not saying like, no, don't do that. If you have the confidence to do so, it's definitely doable. But I would recommend probably going a little lower. The average Berkeley student probably takes like 14 or 15 units a semester. 3 technicals is already 12 units of just pure technicals. I'd say more reasonable would be like 1 or 2 technicals, and then like probably like 2 breadth classes, or maybe like R1A, R1B, like an English class. That way you're not drowned out by schoolwork and you have time to socialize. Socializing is like also important, but you have like all of college to do that. You don't need to like prioritize first semester as much. I say first semester of college, not just at Berkeley, at any college, the first semester, you should leave yourself a lot of buffer, because adapting to living by yourself, like life, yeah, it's just like big time commitment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think this question was asked by like an actual incoming freshman for UC Berkeley.
Sounds like it was very specific.
Yes, I think your response was pretty helpful. Okay, the next one asks, can you give some advice to incoming freshmen, either at UC Berkeley or at other UC schools? So this is more of like a broad question.
I kind of answered it in my previous one too. College life is like a lot to adapt to, and just like don't treat college courses like the way you treat high school courses. You don't have the same objective, you don't have the same goal. College is also very, very different from high school in terms of just like the daily environment you're in and like the kinds of students that are around you and the kind of course load that you're taking. Leave yourself some buffer. Don't rush. Now, I know like a lot of students in high school will be very overachieving, very try hard, and because like you should be, like we all were at some point, because we wanted to go to a good college. But as soon as you make it into the good college, it's time to really like not relax, but like take it easy. First semester, your job isn't to like get a lot of courses done. Your job is to learn what it's like to be at college, make some friends, and then progressively make courses harder. Just because you did very good in high school doesn't mean you'll do very good in college. Doing very good in high school will just put you at a good college. And at a good college, classes are hard. Classes are very hard. So you shouldn't like do the same load that you were doing in high school, because you might be like way overloaded. So yeah, just relax a little.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the third one is more specifically to your life and other people around you's lives on campus.
There's a
So,
question in the chat from Jolina. Pass no
okay.
pass, is there a strategy to use to help your GPA? Pass no pass is like a Berkeley specific thing, or other schools also have some form of pass no pass, but PNP at Berkeley just means when you take a class, it doesn't affect your GPA. Anything above a C- is counts as pass. Anything below it is no pass. And when you do PNP, it's just the class counts towards your transcript to graduate, but it doesn't count towards GPA. Strategy, I would say, depends on what kind of GPA you want. If you want a very high GPA, you should PNP all classes that you don't think you'll get an A in, right? Because then like a B plus is 3.3. If you think that will hurt your GPA, then PNP the class. The hard part of PNP is you need to make that decision very early on in the semester if you're PNPing it or not. Usually what I notice is when students PNP a class, they stop trying because a C- is like not that hard to get, right? So as soon as you click the button, you're like PNP, you stop caring, you stop going to class, and you stop like really trying because all you need is like a C- to pass. But if you take a class not PNP for a grade, you'll continue to try. Strategy, I would say like specifically first 1 or 2 years, try to not PNP because your first 1 or 2 years, the classes are easier. You should use most PNP in the later parts of college because there are classes that like you need to fight to like get a B. And in those classes, like if you mess up, you actually get like a B- or C+, that will hurt your GPA a lot, PNP. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Zidane, for answering the question in the chat. And we'll also have more time for the participants to ask their questions during our Q&A section later. Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so starting with the life on campus questions, the first one asks, we heard students housing at UC Berkeley is a big problem as the campus area is very overcrowded. Are freshmen guaranteed school dormitory, and how many people usually share a room or suite? Is it easy to find housing nearby campus?
Freshmen are guaranteed housing. I believe freshmen still are guaranteed housing. The only issue is university guaranteed housing is usually kind of expensive, and it's like not very worth it. So my freshman year, I lived in a triple, like a room that's probably 150 square feet. 150 square feet for 3 people. That's 1 bed and then a bunk bed. All 3 of our desks, all 3 chairs, 3 closets. Very, very tight. And for a triple, we were each paying $1,500 a month. Like that's insane. that's not worth it at all. The school guaranteed housing isn't as good as outside housing, but outside housing, like you're looking at its own market, right? You need to go house hunting. You need to be on Zillow all the time, like looking if like a house is up for rent. If they are, like call the landlord right away. Like, hey, like, can I rent your house? And then that's like its own whole process. I do recommend most freshmen still go with university housing, even though it's not the best deal, because you can make a lot of freshman friends. All freshmen pretty much do that. And the thing is, like, the school offers a lot of housing. If you want to stay in housing, like sophomore year, I think the school will still let you stay. It's not worth it, right? People leave UC Berkeley housing not because there's not enough housing, but just because like it's not a good deal. So that's why people leave. So yeah, freshmen are guaranteed. It depends on like where you live, but like how many there are singles, there are doubles, there are triples. I was unlucky. I got a triple.
Okay, got it. All right. The next question asks, what about the safety issue at UC Berkeley and the surrounding neighborhoods? Do you feel like it's a safe place, whether it is inside the university or around it?
So I'm a boy. Like because I'm a dude. I don't feel this issue as much. On the south side, there are definitely homeless people, very similar to like if you went to UW, right? In downtown Seattle, there are also like homeless people, and usually at night they're just sleeping on the street. They won't bother you. Maybe like once a semester you might get chased because you provoked them or something. But like it's not. I wouldn't say safety is a huge problem. I do know like girls will care about this like more. Girls will be carrying like a pepper spray around or something, and they'll always walk in groups at night. Walking by yourself at night is a bad idea anywhere, not just at Berkeley. So if you like me, I'll try to be indoors by like 10 or 11. If I really have to walk, or if I'm really hungry and I'm looking for a late night snack, I'll get some friends to go with me. That's true for guys and girls. Yeah, I haven't personally had any incidents, but I have heard like people getting their stuff stolen. Like if you leave your bike and you don't lock it, it's probably going to get stolen. But that's true to like most college like campuses, not just UC Berkeley.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of families are also worried about like gun violence and these things. How do you feel about these specifically at UC Berkeley? Is it like a big issue, or is it not so much an issue?
So because Berkeley's in California, I think guns are less heard of here. In Seattle, like sometimes you might hear a gunshot. In Berkeley, I don't think I've heard a gunshot. Like I haven't like, seen any gun violence. Berkeley has like a very tight police system. So like whenever there's any kind of incident, like robbery, theft, assault, anything, students and parents will get an email. It's called UC Berkeley, like police warn me. And I don't think I've ever seen like gunshot on that. Actually, maybe, but I don't think the gun safety is like an issue to impact like college life. It's something to keep in the back of your head, of course. You shouldn't walk alone at night. And if you are walking alone at night, you should like always like look to make sure. But beyond that, like, yeah, I don't think safety is a huge issue.
Okay. All right. The next one asks, how's the food on the campus? Do you have to eat with the dormitory dining plan?
The UC Berkeley cafeteria is pretty bad. Not because the food is bad, but because so many kids go to it. It's like very crowded. You need to wait in line for very long to get it. And the food is like mid. It's not bad, but it's also like not great. The Berkeley restaurants are very good. Freshman year, the reason why the cafeteria is crowded is because I think freshmen are required to be on meal plan. And when you're on meal plan, every meal you eat at the cafeteria is basically free. You don't pay to eat at the cafeteria, but you do pay to eat out. So most kids will try to eat free as much as possible. That's why it's crowded. As soon as you're off the meal plan, going to the cafeteria for one meal is $12 versus going to Chipotle for a meal is $9. Nobody's going to go to the cafeteria over Chipotle, especially when Chipotle is cheaper, right? Berkeley has a lot of like good restaurants around. So I think most kids will like eat out after freshman year. I personally have a Costco membership. So like I'll go to Costco and like cook for myself. But that's because my house has a kitchen. If your house doesn't have a kitchen, like that will be harder.
Okay, got it. Sorry. Okay, the next question asks, what clubs and student activities do you participate in at UC Berkeley? Do you also have any recommendations?
So my freshman year at Berkeley, I was involved in this consulting club called Berkeley Venture Capital, where we looked at like startup companies. We worked with them to like come up with pitches, to basically just learn from the Silicon Valley like startup community. I didn't like, kind of like in high school, you do extracurriculars so that you can like go to college, you know. I got the Amazon internship freshman year. So after I was like, I don't really need this. I just need to focus time doing my own CS projects, and I need to like focus on class. Outside of class, like you do clubs and activities to like build your resume, to pad like your LinkedIn, to pad your application in general for when you're doing the job search. And then afterwards, it's just a networking thing. Being in a club usually has hour requirements. Like you need to go to club meetings every week. Clubs in college, I'd say, are probably more strict than classes. No class will take attendance, but sometimes clubs will, because clubs in college are very like much more serious than in high school. A lot of these clubs do like real world projects, real world like consulting projects, and they have deadlines to meet. They have actual clients that they need to serve. Most clubs and activity at Berkeley that I've heard of, I think, are like business organizations. It's consulting clubs that just like take deals and then they'll do like a deck and then submit the deck. That's not really relevant to what I do as a CS major. There are coding clubs. There's like blockchain club and stuff like that. But most of the time people join those not to like do work. People join those to just like make friends, to network. So yeah, I mean, like I'll hang out with like a bunch of different clubs, but I'm not formally in any clubs anymore. Yeah. Recommendations, same thing as high school. Just like look around, meet some people, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like. You can definitely join some random club just because you like the people in it. Like that's very much within reason.
Okay. All right. So this is the last section. It's about internship opportunities in college, and this section isn't very long. I think we only have 3 to 4 questions. So the first one is from which school year did you start to find internship opportunities? I guess I kind of covered that in like your intro, but like more specifically, where and how did you find them?
So I actually started recruiting for software internships. FANG, like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, Netflix. Like I started applying for software internships my senior year of high school. I didn't get anything my senior year of high school, but I think I got a start. The important thing is like to have a resume. For CS specifically, like have a GitHub. And you can just find these online. Like if you search up software engineering internship, the first 50 results, like just apply to all of them. See like the software development internships specifically, like usually they're very competitive. Like if you want to go to like Amazon specifically, the acceptance rate is probably low, but the thing is applying is free. Applying to college isn't the same because every college you apply to is like $80 to $100 application fee versus dropping a resume at Google, drop a resume at Microsoft, drop a resume at Amazon is free. You just submit a resume. You can easily apply to like 100 companies. I don't know. There's no list, but every company usually has like about the same process. So if you're interested in that, like start doing your research early. It's never too early to apply. I didn't get an internship my senior year of high school, which makes sense. Like I was 18 years old. Like I was too young. But I did it again my freshman year of college, and I was lucky. I was fortunate to get Amazon as a freshman, and I just kept doing that. I got a return offer.
Okay, got it. And then, okay, the next one. Wait. Okay, the next one asks specifically on what's the company's criteria of selecting college interns, and are they more academically focused or hands-on experience preferred?
Both. I think it depends on the team. When you apply to software companies, I can only answer for software companies because I don't know what internships are like. I like business firms, banking firms, consulting firms. I don't know what it's like elsewhere. For software specifically, it's good to have your own projects. It's good to show that you can code. Your academics and your resume, your projects, your experiences are all part of it's like the college application. They're all part of your package. And when they see your package and they like you, they'll give you like a hacker rank, some kind of online assessment. You code. If you do good, they'll give you an interview. You do good in interviews, so on and so forth. Job search is very different from college in that your resume, your entire application package only helps you get the interview. Once you get the interview, only the interview matters. Like if you do bad in an interview, it doesn't matter how good your resume is, you're not getting the job. If your resume is not that good, but you got an interview and you did very good in the interview, you'll still probably get the job. For CS specifically, like do lead code. Lead code, I'd say is more valuable than like classes because classes teach you theory. You can't really use theory in an interview. Lead code, you can use in an interview. Theory is still helpful for when you actually do the job because you need to understand fundamentally like what's going on behind these machines. But yeah, like both academic and experiences all help you get to the interview, and then from there only the interview matters.
Okay, great. The next one asks, what exactly do you do when you work as an intern in companies?
Yeah, once again, this is very specific to software. If you intern at a banking firm, if you intern at like some consulting firm, you're probably doing very different things. At a software company, you basically shadow a mentor. Though every summer I've done software engineering, you'll get assigned a mentor and you'll get assigned a project. This summer, I had to start from the design phase. So I needed to design, like write a design document, propose the design document to my team, get it approved, and then implement the design document. Most of the times, like nowadays, interns will do very hands-on work. Like you're going to work on something that's actually going into production. And it's just from a company perspective, right? They'll be like, oh, we have this thing that we need to do. It's low priority. We don't need to do it right away. It will probably take a full-time engineer 2 to 3 weeks to do. And because it's low priority, it's not important, and it's a small project. Let's just give an intern 3 months to do it. So you spend 3 months basically like working out that one project, and it's exactly what you think it is. Like you code, you build something, you deploy it, you test it, and then it contributes value to the company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's like software engineering specific. Other internships, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. We understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it with all the questions, and thank you for answering all of them. And I'm sure it was very helpful to those people.
Big list.
So yeah, here is Zizhen's tutoring program, like I mentioned earlier, and I will hand it over to him to just explain this.
Yes, thank you. So thank you guys all for attending today's talk. We're still going to do an open Q&A session at the end, but before we start the open Q&A session, I want to spend a little bit of time to talk about my organization, Tudor Point. Tudor Point is a team of led by me and about 50 other college students. These are college students from like top US schools. We have Harvard, Stanford, MIT. We have students from everywhere, and we're looking to make like extra money on the side, being college students. We offer a few possible services, from college consulting to like high school tutoring, AP classes, and then over the summer we offer ACT and SAT prep courses. To ask, like, today, a lot of the questions that we asked in the chat are very vague and general. It's stuff like, oh, like, what should I do in high school? I'll be like, oh, do an extracurricular activity, because that will help you get into college. That's very vague. It's hard for you to like know specifically how to take that advice and turn it into action. Sign up for a college consulting course with me. The first 30 minutes is free. Just come meet me, get an introduction. I'll answer some of your personal questions. You can just chat with me one-on-one. 中英文双语都可以。我们也有其他的 consultant 也可以双语服务。Just like when we provide services like individually, it can be more personalized. To reach out to me to like schedule an appointment to get your free session, I prefer text or WeChat, but if you can also email. And then beyond that, like Little Masters Club runs like nonprofit organizations. A lot of our tutoring and summer consulting, like college consulting, will be paid, but we'll work out details if anyone is interested. We'll leave this page up for if anyone's interested, and while it's up, we can do open Q&A. I'll check the chat because I think someone already asked a question.
Yeah, so before we begin the open Q&A, I will enable participants to like unmute themselves, but like you may either ask in the chat your question or just feel free to unmute yourself when we're transitioning from a question to the next. But just so that you know, this whole session is recorded. So if you unmute, your voice will be recorded, just to make sure that you're fine with that. So I actually have someone already asked a question pretty earlier on in the chat, and that was directed to me. So I'll just like read that question out loud to Zizhen right now. So ask, is Berkeley CS direct admission? I guess you already answered this. So if it is only to School of Letter and Science, do you still need to indicate an intended major at the application time?
Oh, can you say that last part again? I didn't.
Yeah. Sure. So if it is only to School of Letter and Science, do you still need to indicate an intended major at the application time?
Yes. I have heard that Berkeley's Letters of Science is changing. When I applied, the intended major didn't matter. It was a pure statistic that the college was interested in to just kind of understand what people want to do. Now I think it actually matters, because for a lot of the intro classes, like CS61A, the link that I sent earlier, it caps, right? It will be like, okay, 2,000 students max, but maybe 2,400 students want to take it. So there's a priority. Only if you're like CS intended will you like get into that class. I don't know if that's official yet, but I have heard that like that's what they're trying to move to in the future. But in general, for Letters of Science specifically, like you can get in, and as long as you take the intro classes and do good in them, like you can become a CS major. And the earlier question, no, CS is not direct admit. EECS is direct admit, but that's because EECS goes to the College of Engineering. That's a whole separate college within the same university. I'll ask the public, there's a public question. When should we start the internship application? October, November of each year. How hard is it to get internship as freshman or sophomore? So once again, like it's only software. I only know software internships, but for software internships, the recruiting season usually begins in September. By the time it gets to November, December, most positions are already filled for the next summer. This is like junior summer internship because your junior summer internship is the one that matters the most. For freshman, sophomore, I got very lucky. Like my freshman year when I applied to Amazon, the only reason I got it, I think, is because of COVID. Like COVID was remote. I emailed them. I was like, you don't need to like fly me out. I'm from Seattle. I can like bike to work every day. Like you don't need to give me relocation stipend, all this. And then there were a lot of COVID policy changes that I think allowed them to like give me a position. Usually it's hard for freshmen to find an internship. There's like a balance, right? Like to find an internship, you first need experience, but experience usually is just like an internship. So those two things like come hand in hand. Before you look for internship as a freshman or sophomore, it's probably a good idea to like build some of your own projects, either just on your own or through a school club, and have it like show it on your GitHub, show it on your LinkedIn, show them that you've had work experience. I think sophomore summer, most kids should, if you do good in school, you have projects to show, and you're very actively looking for internships, and you apply to like 50, 100, you should expect to get one sophomore summer. Maybe not FANG, but you can definitely get like a startup. There's also like a spectrum, right? From like very small startup to like Amazon. There's a different size of companies, and different size companies will recruit differently. I have a question directed to me. What's my opinion on Greek life? So personally, freshman year, I was considering Greek life. I think the reason I chose to not is because to join Greek life, like you have to pay dues at Berkeley, and the dues are a lot. It's like something like $1,500 a semester. And Greek life, very similar to like the rest of the clubs and organizations. It's there for networking. It's very fun, and it's something that like you can do, and it's like part of the college experience. I have a positive opinion on Greek life because I've like so many of my friends are very successful, and they've gone to like do internships, they've gone to full-time jobs, and they party a lot with Greek life. Like those two things don't cancel each other out. It all depends on like your own interest. I wouldn't say like you need to join Greek life to have fun in college. I thought that like when I was a freshman, but like I think I turned out okay. So yeah, just like same thing with clubs, honestly. Like just go when you're going through the rush process, go see your houses, go meet the people. If you like them, join. If you don't join. Right? It's very free form. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be social. And if you're not having fun and you're not adding to your social health, there's no point. So yeah. Are there any other questions from the chat? Berkeley specifically, or I can answer questions about like college application in general. Like I do college consulting. You can also ask in Chinese.
Mm-hmm. Or also feel free to just unmute yourself if that's easier.
Speak up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess if for now there are no longer any further questions, we could end the meeting here. So once again, thank you, Zijun, very much for your time today, and also great thanks to all the participants who came today to listen to Zijun's presentation. So Zijun's Tudor Point program is still up here. If you want to take a screenshot or whatever, feel free to do so. And yeah, thank you guys for coming. If you don't have any further like questions to ask Zijun, you may feel free to leave. Thank you.